called Riverhead. At this time, I'd like to ask the supervisor, Sean Walter, to come up to the podium and share with us how the town of Riverhead is doing. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Supervisor, thank you very much. I want to thank Lion Bob and the Riverhead Lions Club for sponsoring this address. I'd also like to thank my friends at Riverhead Rotary and the Riverhead Kiwanis Club. This is my fourth State of the Town message. In writing this speech, I am reminded of what it might have felt like to be Elizabeth Taylor's fourth husband. I know what to do. I just need to make it interesting for y'all. The State of the Town is an outline of where we've been and where Riverhead is going. Tonight we measure our progress, we outline the upcoming agenda, we state our priorities, and we look ahead. The State of the Town is about issues and not politics, but I could not be truthful with you over the past 12 months if I did not share a bit of my personal journey this past year. For any elected official, there are ups and downs, highs and lows. In public service, sometimes the road can be lonely, but the walk is always rewarding. A few weeks ago, we lost Ed Koch. I was young when he was mayor, and as a kid growing up, I thought his name was actually mayor. Serving in the public office, you come to admire from afar those that serve in public. We all have our own style, our own way, yet we're all different people with different ideas. You had to love Mayor Koch's pluck, his drive, his use of the word chutzpah. When he spoke of tough fights, he said, "I don't get ulcers, I give them." Mayor Koch said, "If you agree with me 9 out of 12 times, then vote for me. If you agree with me 12 out of 12, see a psychiatrist." The mayor had a way about him. This year has been tough. Our town board can give ulcers at times. Even when we agree, we seem to do it disagreeably. I've not always been proud about my own words. In my passion to get results, every once in a while, I might have said something the wrong way. You might have heard that I ran for county legislator this winter. On the other hand, you might not. It was a hard-fought election, but a very quick election night. Let's just say we didn't need to wait for them to count the absentee ballots. We didn't have to wear out the plus sign on the calculator. I lost the race convincingly. You could say God has a sense of humor, because I truly believe that God wanted to humble me by this experience in order to make me a better town supervisor. I make no apologies for running. Let's just say, some of you know, humility is not my strong suit, but I'm working on it. I've reflected on this result. Let me say this. I really could not be happier. You may remember that Ed Koch ran for governor. There is something in the eye of the voter, something innate, something that can spot what is genuine and what is not. And it cuts through the clutter and gives a thumbs up or a thumbs down to what we have to say about ourselves and our politicians. Ed Koch didn't belong as governor. I would not have fit in Papa. Ed Koch was New York. He ate and drank and slept New York City. The public could tell Ed Koch in Albany would be like pastrami with mayonnaise. I realize Riverhead is where I belong. I love this job. I love the give and the take. I love to put the pieces together to form the playing field that will finally give rise to EPCAL. I love the energy of our downtown. It thrills me today like it did the first day to see the commitment of people that work in Town Hall. I love every minute of what I do as supervisor, and I could not be more excited about the future and this coming year and where this town is headed. By all measures, this town is better off than it was 4 years ago. Some may be critical of my methods, but nobody can argue about our successes. Whether it is on town finances, Riverhead's Main Street, or Epcot, we are moving in the right direction on all fronts. The town is on the precipice of greatness, but the hard work is yet to be done. We have been here before, folks, only to see the town backslide. We cannot allow the town to backslide again. We must remain vigilant. I'm going off script. You are serving them dinner, right? We're not holding it up for me. Eat your dinner. As Rotarians, you guys do this to the speakers all the time. Make sure they serve the dinner box. We'll tackle Tony. Riverhead has been truly blessed by God. If I may be so bold as to quote a little scripture here, I'd like to turn to Romans 5. Therefore, having been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we also have access by faith into His grace in which we stand. And we rejoice in the hope and the glory of God. And not only that, but we also glory in our tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance, character, and character, hope. Now, hope does not disappoint, because the love of God has been poured out in our hearts by the Holy Spirit who has given it to us. Now, I and the town have faced many tribulations in 2012. On a very personal note, I lost 4 family members in 2012. There was a point that my mother and my grandmother were in the same nursing home, living 1 floor apart. This was a difficult year for me on all levels. We lost my grandmother in February, my mother in April, and then very suddenly we lost my sister-in-law Denise in August, and my aunt soon after that. Most of you did not know Denise Morano. Denise was here for my inaugurations in both 2010 and 2012. During my speech of 2012, I thanked many people, but neglected to thank Denise. A point not lost on her. A point she quickly advised me of after the speech. After the death of my mother, one of the most difficult of my personal losses last year was that of Denise. So tonight I want to acknowledge and thank Denise for her ever-optimistic view of life and her endless love of me and her family. Denise used to say, "You may be my brother-in-law, but you're my boyfriend." It's been a tough year, folks. I think we can all agree that I'm not a poker player, and I won't play poker with you all. I wear my heart on my sleeve. If I'm happy you know about it, I'll probably give you a hug. If I'm upset, you're also going to know about it. I've always been honest with the residents throughout the past 4 years. But I know that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance, character, character, hope. Despite all my tribulations of 2012, it is time to rejoice. It is time to have hope. It is not time to change course. It is time to have hope for the future of this town. Faith triumphs in trouble. As a town, we were very fortunate not to have been devastated by the effects of Hurricane Sandy, as were places like Mastic Beach and Long Beach. This is not to say we did not have residents that didn't suffer tremendous losses. Our hearts go out to those residents in both the town and the states and the neighboring communities who suffered any type of loss. As a town, we were blessed not to have any major injuries or fatalities. the town was well prepared. From the police department to the ambulance to the highway department to buildings and grounds, we were ready. Nothing brings you to your knees in prayer like an impending storm on the order of the magnitude of Hurricane Sandy. One of the most difficult decisions in the storm was the decision to open the emergency shelter at Riverhead High School. To know that you will be responsible for the lives and safety of hundreds of people really does bring you to your knees. As difficult a decision as opening the shelter was, the burden was shared by many people, and once again, the town of Riverhead rose to the occasion and had one of the #1 shelters in Suffolk County. I cannot let this opportunity pass without recognizing 4 people and their organizations, for without their help, we would have been in trouble. I mention these names in no particular order. Riverhead Police Chief David Hagemiller and the entire Riverhead Police Department. Chief provided a steady hand during the storm. And believe me, there were many people running around like chickens with their heads cut off. I am ever in debt for that steady hand. I want to thank the Riverhead School Superintendent Nancy Carney and the Riverhead School District. They provided not only the shelter, but the employees to staff the shelter. I want to thank Judy Dahl and the entire staff of the senior division. It is unbelievable what they did. The senior division prepared 3 meals a day for over 400 people. They prepared 1,200 meals, a little more than 24 hours. Finally, I want to thank Pastor Jerry Halpin and his entire congregation of the North Shore Christian Church for helping staff the shelter, feed the people, and entertain both the young and the old. Yes, this community really came together. From the pillows donated by Walmart and Target to the water donated by Riverhead Beverage, our faith triumphed in trouble. And as a town, we are better for the experience. That being said, let's hope the rest of 2013 is smooth sailing. The town has had its tribulations over the years. The character of this town is strong because we have persevered through troubling times at EPCAP, where bad projects come to die. We have persevered through Main Street with a 70% vacancy rate. We have persevered through spending that was double the rate of inflation, and financial audits that were in some cases 25 years overdue. This perseverance has produced an indomitable character, a character that understands that we as a town are on the precipice of greatness. A greatness that still requires work. But this work is exciting. This work has set the town aflame with hope. This year we enter into perhaps the most critical phase of our near-term future. We begin the brickwork that rebuilds this town. This in many ways is our most important moment in generations. This year we begin the heavy lifting. 4 years ago I stood before you and I spoke in soaring rhetoric. I painted a vision. I outlined the future. And 4 short years later, the focus of this speech is about detail, concrete, and foundations. It is always fun and inspiring to paint a vision. It is always fun to be bold. But the next few years, folks, is about follow-through. It is more about follow-through than new ideas. The upcoming year will be about a slow and methodical work to complete the to-do list. A few days ago, Renewal began, as it always does, on opening day of baseball season. There is something magical about the start of spring baseball. Opening day cries out for nostalgia and old memories. On the day that the old Yankee Stadium opened in 1923, Babe Ruth hit a long heroic homer to christen the stadium and name it forever the house that Ruth built. When the new stadium opened this season, the press was about who won the game and how it was played. It wasn't about the nuts and the bolts that hold the stadium together, or the job the electricians did to get the scoreboard working. It wasn't about the sod on the field, which, by the way, is now grown at the Leah Sod Farms in Riverhead. In the near term, Riverhead's governance is less about swinging for the fences, home runs, and heroics, and more about fundamental baseball, solid play, base hits, and execution. We all like the bold headlines, but 213 and beyond will be more about the quiet work of making dreams reality, less about new initiatives, and more about crossing T's and dotting I's. I came to office promising three things: to begin to revitalize downtown, block by block, store by store; to get Epcal on the market and make it the place that will create jobs and tax base; and finally, to get the town on firm financial footing. 4 years later, folks, the script is the same. The goals are within our reach. The foundation is being poured as we sit here. We must continue the construction. Anyone whose objective sees that we are better off downtown today versus where we were 4 years ago. 4 years ago, it was bleak, it was gray, windows were dark. Today, downtown is illuminated by the neon lights of the Suffolk Theater. There is light, there is hope, there is promise. In the past 4 years, we've attracted stores like the bicycle store, clothing stores. We opened the Dark Horse Cafe and restaurant to anchor the critical corner of Peconic and Main. We have a new microbrewery coming downtown. We have Cody's, the Red Collection, the Riverhead Project. The Hyatt anchors East Main Street as the only downtown hotel in Suffolk. And I can go on, and you all know I can go on. You know what's happening. The Summer Wind is about to bring new residents as well as a restaurant and a bank. The community garden and the adjacent playground brings greenery and life to the river. 4 years ago, these were dreams. Today, they are reality. Now we must fill and build. We have an emerging parking problem. 4 years ago, I prayed to speak those words. Those words have become a reality. A parking plan is currently being devised by Nelson Pope and Voorhees under a grant given to the town by New York State. The plan will also address traffic flow issues on East and West Main Street as well as Peconic Avenue. 4 years ago, downtown seemed dead. Through the leadership of the bid, under the leadership of Ray Pickersgill, where are you, Ray? The East End Arts Council, the Vale Levitt, Main Street has become a hotbed of activity. Car shows and art shows and concerts and music and fun have come to Main Street. At my first swearing in, I hoped this would happen. I hoped we would see this type of activity. Now we have. So the next phase brings us with challenges of parking and logistics and planning. Problems we want to have, problems we will solve. We have movement downtown on the north side. The Woolworth building has been sold. And with the sale comes a new downtown gym, new stores, and 16 apartments within the revitalized shell of the Woolworth building. Now our efforts have to turn to the south side, and I do have a plan. These efforts commence, and I'm not sure Riverhead Enterprises wants me to announce this, but these efforts commence with a new proposal by Riverhead Enterprises for a mixed-use building on East Main Street. And they culminate with a new proposal for market-rate housing by Rafi Weiss on the south side of West Main Street. Heavy lifting, yes. Exciting, yes. And vital to the continuing momentum. These projects give us hope, they give us vision, and they will become a reality. Speaking of baseball, EPCAL has always been our field of broken dreams. As I said, the place where bad ideas come to fail. And it has now been 2 years of nose to the grindstone, labor, study, and talk. We are finally poised to tap the potential at EPCAL. This is not another coming soon speech. We are here. We have spent the better part of last year developing a subdivision map with the Department of Environmental Conservation that ensures both economic development and environmental protection at EPCAL. We are almost ready to open for business. We are ready to grow. The environmental impact statement and final subdivision should be completed within the next year. It has been a long road to get to this place, but it feels good. EPCAL cannot be developed without the help of our partners in Albany. Some of you may know Senator Laval was successful in having the Senate pass the EPCAL District Board legislation, which would enable approval of projects in EPCAL within 90 days. Unfortunately, we were not successful with the New York State Assembly in 2012. Some might say I had difficulty finding a parking garage in 2012. This is a minor tribulation. Fear not. We are back in full force, lobbying the New York State Assembly. And I have a great feeling about 2013. We are now seasoned veterans of the lobbying circuit. We know the players. We have their stats. And in this case, my friends, we are swinging for the fences. Passage of this legislation will not only revolutionize economic development at EPCAL, it has the potential to do the same for New York State. The die is cast. There can be no turning back from what this town should have done 15 years ago. We have to now begin the process of designing the roads and the infrastructure to make EPCAL a reality. I will continue my quests to Albany to find this much-needed infrastructure money and to get the EPCAL District Board legislation passed. Heavy lifting, yes. But it is the work necessary to bring EPCAL online. 4 years after I swore the oath of office, the town will finally begin to reap the benefits of EPCAL. Now we turn to the finances. When we came to town 4 years ago, we were not where we should have been. When I took office, we were 2 years behind in our annual audits, 10 years behind in our capital projects audits, and as much as 25 years behind in auditing our trust and agencies accounts. We were running out of money to fund the day-to-day operations of town because we had not sold $20 million of debt run up for the landfill prior to 2010. Thankfully, all this is done. Our audits are done. Our credit rating was affirmed. We sold $20 million of debt for an average of 3% very late in 2011. We then refinanced the town's remaining debt in 2012 for 2%. I am also happy to report that we have not accumulated any additional debt over the past 4 years. Another important point for people to understand, in spite of double-digit increases in the retirement and health insurance costs, in spite of staggering debt service we added to this town by having to sell that $20 million in debt, real spending in the town of Riverhead over the 3 budgets that I submitted was only up 1.07%. That's less than half the rate of inflation. We set out on the right course to pare down spending and to cut expenses. But I was not satisfied. It is my job as town supervisor to leave this town in a better financial position than it was when I arrived. So I invited the New York State Comptroller's Office to conduct a financial audit of the town. There were many people that said I was crazy. But I wanted somebody independent to take our temperature and prescribe a cure if necessary. 4 years later, I am proud to say we have come a long way. The lines on our charts are moving in the right direction. The state comptroller gave us a clean bill of health, but asked for certain changes in administrative chargebacks. Interestingly enough, I believe the controller's findings for Riverhead on administrative chargebacks will set the standard for New York State. That, my friends, is a great thing. And this town should be proud of our efforts in this area. Our ship of state is drifting towards some tough times, but we can see the channel and avoid the rocks. In short, we've come a long way, but we have a long way to go. It is exciting. The challenge we face today and how we execute tomorrow will determine our future over the next few years. Finally, over the past 4 years, you've always heard me talk about these 3 major topics. My staff and I work on these 3 major things day in and day out. These issues are important, but they don't tell the entire story of the town. We are progressing on many fronts, and a few amazing things have happened this year. Perhaps the most amazing thing that happened this year, was the privatization of the Riverhead Animal Shelter. Through an agreement with North Fork Animal Welfare League, I am proud to say our shelter is in better hands than when the town ran it. The town has been working towards that goal for 20 years. I am also quite pleased to announce the town is working on plans to move the current animal shelter from Youngs Avenue to the Henry Pfeiffer Center, located on Drummond Boulevard in Calverton. Our partners at both the North Fork Animal Welfare League and the Move the Animal Shelter have informed the town board that this move will come at no cost to the taxpayers. Speaking of Calverton, George Gabrielson is working hard on the grand opening of the ball field scheduled for April 27th. And I am pleased to say, through the efforts of the town board, we were able to reduce the costs of this project by 50%. Now, some would say, especially if I was in a community along Middle Road, what's going on Route 58. Not a week goes by that a resident doesn't ask me questions about new stores on Route 58. It gives me great pleasure to announce the construction of 3 long-awaited businesses. Walmart is coming. Just to the east of the new Walmart, we have a new center which is already under construction, which will house Dick's Sporting Goods, the Christmas Tree Shop, among other stores. And still heading east, we will have a new Costco. Even in a down economy, this town has managed to attract major investments. This is truly a testament to the financial viability of this town. So in pronouncing the state of the town, let me say the past 4 years were about making plans for the next few years. Now we will be executing them. We have constructed, or we are constructing, a solid foundation. We now have to complete the yeoman's work of executing the blueprint. There are times that call for grand speeches and new ideas. These times are not so much about new speeches and grand ideas. These times are not so much about a show horse, but more about the workhorse. Remembering that the greatest play on the field, move on the dance floor, song ever sung, or words ever written, were practiced many times before. There is a time to challenge, to go to the moon, and there is a time to build rockets. It's time to build the rockets. As Edward Gibbons said, we need a heart to resolve, a head to contrive, and a hand to execute. So let me say the state of Riverhead is sound. There is much to be pleased about. The financial challenges lay ahead, but we can stave them off if we execute our plans and commit to the path that I've laid out. The next year will require the board, that is at times apart, to come together for the good of this town. The next year will require us to stay the course, to hunker down, to get the job done. There is no mystery or surprise to our script or game plan. Our result will come from our ability to stand and deliver. I'm excited about the coming year. I love the heavy lifting. Revel in the challenge. I know that I am in the right place at the right time. 4 years after I took the oath of office, with fits and starts along the way, I see our plan coming together. We are getting things done here in Riverhead. That is the measure of success. So I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. I want to personally thank all the staff at the town of Riverhead for enabling me to do what I do as town supervisor. Most of all, I want to thank my wife and family. Being town supervisor doesn't end at 4:30 when the doors at town hall close. It is a way of life that involves my wife and family. And I am truly thankful that they support me as your town supervisor. Thank you and enjoy your day.